Dear students, I welcome you in the online classes organized by ISP. Dear students, we are studying the subject of Corpus Linguistics, and the topic for today is corpora and language teaching. Dear students, corpora has large possibilities to be used in so many fields. It can be used in all those fields actually which are relevant to language and linguistics. Dear students, from previous some lectures we have been trying to investigate what is the relationship between corpora and applied linguistics. It means we are trying to guess and we are trying to investigate what are those fields which are proper for the use of corpora. For this purpose, we have studied the field of professional communication. Then we studied how corpora can be used in the teaching of second language, that is L2. We have also gone through the use of corpora in translation studies. Dear students, in all those fields, corpus has been used successfully in different countries of the world. And this is not limited to the language of English. The people have been using it in Germany for German language, in France for French language, and so on. Even it has been used in English in England, America, and the other European countries. Dear students, now corpora are being used in African as well as some Asian countries as well. I will mention Japan and then China. These are two countries where the people are non-native English speakers or English writers. But these two countries, and these are the Asian countries we know, these countries are using corpora in the classrooms. They are using English corpora, the corpora of English language in their classrooms, and they have been very successful in teaching second language, that is English, and they are also successful in the other fields where corpora can be exploited as a helper to the teacher. Dear students, I will also mention Singapore and Korea. These are also two countries where the corpus has been utilized in the classroom environment, and they have got very surprising results. Dear students, it is unfortunate that in our country we are still not aware about the scope of corpora, and that is why we are not using corpora in our classrooms when we teach a second language to our students. There are so many reasons behind this non-use of corpora, but one of the biggest reason that I can point out is that teachers are actually not aware about the possibilities and the scope that corpora provide in order to teach a second language. Dear students, our environment in the classroom is so conducive and it suits the use of corpora in the teaching of second language. But again, I would say that our teachers are not aware about its utility, how to use it, and what are the possibilities that it provides if we would use it in our classrooms for teaching language. Dear students, today we will see how corpora can be helpful and what is its scope and what are the possibilities that it can provide when we teach a second language to our students. That would be the focus of our lesson today. Now, if we look at the outlines of lecture, then corpora and language teaching, then some important questions about the use of corpora in language teaching. Dear students, as I have pointed out, most of our teachers are not aware about corpora and its use in the language teaching. So there are certain questions raised by these people, especially our teachers, when we would suggest them to use corpora in their classroom for teaching second language. So what are generally or commonly these questions raised by our teachers? Then, core components of learner corpus. Now, dear students, if I could remind you, at the start of our component of course, that is Corpus Linguistics, we have gone through the types of corpora, and one of those types was learner corpus. Learner corpus is actually based upon the real life examples. The real life examples are actual examples of language use by the native people, or those people who are learning the second language. So this is very important type of corpus, because actually this type of corpus can be used in the classroom environment for the students so that they may learn by using or by focusing these examples which we are taking from learner corpus, and these examples consist of real life situation examples of those people who are speaking or writing English as their second language. So these are actually the examples of all of us, how we use English, how we do write English. These examples of this corpus consist of all those examples. Then we will also see contribution of learners corpus research to pedagogical tools. So there are some pedagogical tools, and we will see how the learner corpus has helped to improve such kind of tools. Dear students, as usual, at the end I would like to set an exercise for you. Now, what is the relationship between corpora and language teaching? Now, corpora have changed our views on language and language use. That is the very first line of our lecture. Again, I would point out that in those countries where English is the second language and the people are exploiting corpora in order to teach that second language, in such countries, Corpus has changed the views on language and language use. So the possibilities, the scope that Corpus presents in teaching second language, it has totally changed the views of the people wherever it has been used. It is not only raw corpora which are of interest, but corpora come with user-friendly programs and software which makes them suitable for the use by learners. So we know, dear students, there are generally two kinds of corpora. One of them is raw corpora. Raw corpora is that kind of corpora, dear students, which has not been annotated, which has not been tagged. And the other kind of corpora is annotated corpora, which is of course annotated and tagged. And what is annotation and tagging? You know it very well now. We have gone through it. We have spent certain time on what is annotation and the rules of annotation and what are the issues of involved in the annotation, types of annotation as well. So our focus today is that in the language teaching we are not only using raw corpora, and raw corpora is also interesting when we use it in the classroom environment, but today we are using such kind of corpora which have user-friendly programs and software. And when we use such kind of corpora with user-friendly programs and software, naturally it makes such kind of corpora more suitable for the language learners. Now, however, it is clear that there are also problems and that we do not know enough about how learners and teachers experience the use of corpora in the class. It means that the use of corpora in the classroom is not a smooth sailing. It has its own ups and downs. There are certain problems that the learners and the teachers have to face when they try to use corpora in the classroom environment. Now, we have to keep in mind what are those problems and what are those hardships that the learners and teachers are experiencing when they use corpora in the classroom. Now, these questions are focused upon those problems. Most of the teachers, language teachers, when they are teaching a second language to their students, as well as the students who are the second language learners, most of them pose these questions. They raise these questions when we suggest to them to use corpora in language teaching. Number one, when should corpora be used as part of the teaching of a language? This is a very important question, dear students, because when indicates the time, at what age, at what time in the process of the learning or teaching of second language, we should introduce corpora in the classroom. That is, very important question, as I have pointed out, because when you try to introduce corpora in the classroom environment, for example in our country, where not only the students but even the teachers are not aware how to use corpora for teaching language or for learning language. So this question becomes more important because we have to decide what should be the age of the students where they can handle corpora, where they can make best use of corpora. Because if we will try to introduce corpora at an earlier age, that would also create problems. And if we try to introduce corpora when the students or the learners have already gone through the process of learning second language, and if we are a bit late in the introduction of corpora in the classroom environment, that will also create problems. Now, so we have to decide a proper age at which we can introduce corpora in the classroom for teaching second language, and so that it may prove helpful and it may suit to the needs of the learners of the second language. Now, how should they be used? That is also very important. What is the method of using corpora in the classroom? What should be the proper balance between the corpus-based approach and more traditional classroom methods? Because we cannot depend upon only corpus-based methods for teaching second language. Naturally, we have to take help from the traditional methods that we are using in the classroom in order to teach the second language. It means that we have to create a kind of balance between this corpus-based method and the traditional classroom methods that are being used by the teacher most of the time. So we have to create a kind of balance. That is also very important. And the other question is, are corpora good for all kinds of students? Now we know that in one class, all the students are not at the same level. Similarly, in different regions of the same country, the level and the standard of the students would be different. So, this is also important. What kind of students can make good use of corpora? And should it be introduced to all kinds of students, whatever their level is, and regardless of their level and standard in the second language, because that would also be decided by the teachers and the people who are teaching the second language, whether it is useful for all kinds of students, or we have to pick and choose that this should be the level of the student or the standard of the student, so that he may make the best use of corpora. So these are generally the questions that are being raised by the teachers, especially when we suggest to them to introduce corpora as their helper to teach second language to their students. Dear students, now we come to the learner corpus, as we have already defined that learner corpus consists of those examples which are being created by the second language learners. It means when we would use the learner corpus in a class which is trying to study the second language, or who are trying to learn the second language, so this learner corpus will help us, will be useful useful for us, because the students would feel that whatever they are searching, whatever they are reading and studying through this corpus, it is very near to their own experience, because it consists of the real life examples of those people who are the second language learners. Now, learner corpora, LC, are electronic collections of foreign or second language learner texts assembled according to explicit design criteria. So, as I have mentioned, these are the collection, that is the learner corpora or LC. It is the collection of the foreign or second language learner texts, and these are assembled or collected according to a set design, with the design and with the method of using such kind of corpora for the second language learners. For the process of data collection and automated analysis, the researcher needs to have corpus linguistic expertise, familiarity with corpus design, corpus annotation, automated data extraction and analysis, as well as statistical handling of the data. So this point is for the researchers of the second language. If they want to research any topic belonging to second language, pertaining to second language, then they should have certain expertise, and the conditionalities of such expertise is that they should have corpus linguistics expertise. That is the first point. Then they should be familiar how to design a corpus. Then they should know what is the annotation of corpus. And they should know how can we extract data from the corpus. And they should have familiarity with the analysis, how to analyze the corpus data. And finally, they should have awareness about statistics. So if somebody has such kind of expertise, then he or she can use learner corpora for research. Now, a good background in linguistic theory is also necessary to provide the necessary underpinning for linguistic analysis of the data. So it was not enough that the person should know something how to collect corpus, how to analyze corpus, how to extract results from corpus, and what is annotation of corpus, but he should have the know-how of linguistic theory. Because with the help of that linguistic theory, he is going to underpin certain assumptions. He is going to prove certain assumptions. So he should have some background of linguistic theory as well. Then, knowledge of SLA theory is a prerequisite for interpretation of the data. So that is also very important, that not only the linguistic theory, he should or she should have awareness about linguistic theory, but he should have some knowledge of SLA theory as well. Finally, a good understanding of foreign language teaching issues is essential if learner corpora research is to lead to effective pedagogical application. That is another condition, that he should have some understanding of foreign language teaching issues. Because if some teacher does not have this understanding, what are the issues that he or she should keep in mind while trying to teach a second language. For example, in Pakistan, we are trying to teach English as second language. And there are so many issues and so many problems that the teachers are facing in the classroom environment. So, if the teacher does not have awareness about these issues and problems, then the use of learner corpora would not yield any effective kind of results. Now, learner corpora can be put into two categories according to the way in which they are collected and their ensuing pedagogical use. So we have divided the learner corpora into two basic categories, and these have been categorized on the basis of the method of collection and how they are further used. Up to very recently, all learner corpora were corpora for delayed pedagogical use, and that is DPU, delayed pedagogical use. So, up to recently, we are dividing these corpora into two categories, and the one of the category is DPU, and mostly the corpora were being used, and most of the time these were DPU corpora, that is delayed pedagogical use. Now, these DPU corporas are compiled by academics or publishers with a view to providing a better description of one specific interlanguage tool. So that was the DPU, or delayed pedagogical use corpora, and most of the time their designers were academics or publishers, and their focus was one specific interlanguage tool. We are going to discuss these interlanguage tools today in further slides. These are designed for the benefit of learners with the same profile as the students who have produced the corpus data, that is, same mother tongue, background, same level of proficiency, etc. Now, how these DPU delayed pedagogical use corpora were collected and designed. These carried the examples of those students who were also the second language learners, and they have almost the same mother tongue as the mother tongue of those students who are taking benefit or making use of this corpora, and they have almost the same language proficiency as well. So this was the base of collection of DPU. Then DPU corpora are usually bigger and therefore have wider generalizability, as these DPU corpora had the collection of large number of examples of the second language learners. So they were bigger in size, and naturally the results that used to be have from these corpora were prone to more and wider generalizability, that we can generalize those results very easily. A good example of this type of corpus is the Longman Learners Corpus or the Cambridge Learners Corpus, which contains several million words of data from learners. So that is the example of DPU, that is a Longman Learners Corpus or the Cambridge Learner Corpus, and it had millions of words, and these words have been collected from second language learners. They are the ideal resources for designing generic pedagogical tools like EFL, English as Foreign Language Dictionaries, or grammars. So these DPU corpora, that is the first actually practical example that we are looking at, that these DPU corpora could be used in EFL dictionaries or grammars. And this is one of the pedagogical tool that can be that we can have if we use corpora. So the dictionaries and the grammar books that you mostly use, these can be based and these can be written with the help of LC or learner corpora, and the category that mostly we use for writing these dictionaries and grammar books is DPU. Now, the other variety, the other category, as we have said, that learner corpora was divided into two categories. One was DPU and the other one is IPU. IPU corpora are usually much smaller and are not representative in the usual sense of the word. So these are smaller, as we have seen that DPU are larger kind of corpora. They only represent themselves, providing specific information and a basis for generalization concerning the limited range of the variety of language. As they are smaller in size, they have less example as compared to the examples that are contained or that we have in DPU. So naturally their generalization is also limited. The advantage over DPU corpora is that they are arguably more relevant as learners work on their own production. So because of their small size, and this small size is a kind of advantage for IPU, because most of the time the learners find such kind of examples when they use IPU corpora, which they are using or creating by themselves. This kind of localization of learner corpus compilation is one of the most promising avenues in learner corpus research. So, because why we are calling it localization? Because IPU corpora are such kind of corpora which are smaller in size, and as soon as you will utilize or use them, you will come across such examples which are normally spoken and written by you as well. So that means that they are localized, because as soon as a student who is learning the second language comes across such kind of corpora, he finds as if he or she has written these examples himself or herself. So these present a very promising avenue in learner corpus research. Now, what are the contributions of learner corpus research to pedagogical tools? We have already seen that the pedagogical tools, one of the pedagogical tools that we can have by DPU corpora is the building and collection of dictionaries and the writing of grammar books. So now we are actually focusing upon the contributions of learner corpus in the research field of pedagogical tools. Number one is accuracy. Learner corpora tend to contain a much higher error rate than native corpora. So it is the learner corpora, and naturally when we say that learner corpora contains and consists of the real life examples of those people who are using English as their second language, the spoken as well as written example. So naturally the people who are whose language is the second language which they are trying to learn, they will make more errors. So this learner corpora contains larger number of such examples of errors. And it has an advantage. It is not the weakness of learner corpora. In addition to the instances of over and underuse, they also contain numerous instances of misuse. For example, we can look at the use of articles. That is a definite article, the. So not only it has been overused sometimes, but it sometimes we makes its use less, that is, it's underused. And there we can find numerous examples in which it is misused as well. The emergence of learner corpus research has quite naturally been accompanied by the development of a new type of error analysis. Because when you will see such kind of errors in that corpus, naturally you can go for the error analysis similar to traditional error analysis, in that it aims to detect, correct, and analyze learner errors, and yet different from it in several major respects. So, error analysis is a very traditional kind of subject. And what is error analysis? Most of you must be familiar with it. This is a kind of research in which we try to analyze what kind of errors are made by the language users. So there is some traditional method of analysis of these errors, but the learner corpus on one hand has all those qualities which the traditional method of error analysis has, and it has also some differences as well. One important and major difference is that unlike many traditional error analysis studies, it does not focus exclusively on errors. So it is not in the traditional error analysis studies or method, we just focus upon errors. But it does not only focus on errors, but it looks the other way, beyond it means. Now, the second pedagogical tool is complexity. Learner corpora provide an excellent basis for assessing the level of lexical and grammatical complexity displayed by learner language. So what is their vocabulary? What is their lexical complexity? Similarly, how they can use grammar in different complicated and complex situations, that could be also learned from learner's corpora. It allows researchers to have immediate access to all words or phrases that are significantly over or underused by learners and are therefore potential targets for vocabulary expansion exercises. So that is another advantage, and this is another contribution towards the improvement of some pedagogical tools. Because when we use this learner corpus, we come to know that such and such are the words and such are the phrases that are being overused or underused by the learners of the second language. And we can make such kind of exercises, we can develop such kind of exercises so that they may improve this lexical level. Now, the third pedagogical tool is fluency. Fluency is a function of the control in accessing second language knowledge. So when we have control over second language knowledge, naturally we would be fluent. With control improving as the learner automatizes the process of gaining access. So as soon as the learner gains such kind of automatic access upon the process of use of the second language, then fluency improves. One important aspect of fluency is phraseology. A language user should have a large number of semi-pre-constructed phrases that constitute single choices. So how does the fluency come? The fluency comes when you have large number of phrases at your fingertips and in your memory box, so that you can use those phrases as these are required or as it is required. That will naturally make you fluent in writing or speaking the second language. The LC research can provide such kind of choices to the people learning second language. So these chances of having a large number of phraseology in your memory box through the use of Corpora. Similarly, it can make your access to different words and vocabulary easy. That will make you fluent in the use of the second language. Dear students, that was all about how can we utilize, exploit the possibilities and the potential of the Corpora in teaching second language to our students. Now, what you have to write in your assignment, a note on use of Corpora in language teaching. That is required for this assignment. That's all from my side. Stay safe, stay blessed.